What are Shy Roccia's biggest pros and cons? That's what I'm here to tell you today. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. To start, I should mention how the Clown Kid is gonna be able to help out one of the most popular characters in all of Wuthering Waves. That's right, none other than crazed Camellya. If you're a fan of the insane Black Shores warrior, then you might want to consider the Clown, seeing as she's going to become her latest best-in-slot 5-star premium support. So why is that exactly? Well, you see, there's a couple of buffs that she's able to provide her. Despite Roccia not having been released on banners yet, we're already able to read her kit in the Crossing Stars menu. So let's head over there and have a read. For starters, her ult is capable of providing some valuable attack buffs to Camellya. Yet the fun doesn't end there, as she has some very insane woman-tailored buffs housed within her outro skill. Those being the 20% Havoc and 25% basic damage amplification. Nice. Those are all excellent buffs for Camellya. This isn't even mentioning the fact that Roccia will be capable of doing her own good amount of sub-DPS. It's actually not too shabby at all. So you'll be rather pleased with how she performs within the Crazy Woman's teams. A funky looking clown to pair with a funky crazy lady. Certainly a match made in the Imperator-ordained heaven. Plenty of Wuthering Waves characters have a dedicated best-in-slot partner, or a unit comes close to being the perfect teammate for them. For example, Juju paired alongside Carlotta, or Yinlin for hypercarry Shangling Yao Yao. Pretty much the only exception at the moment is Zhangli, who's still waiting for her perfect premium dedicated limited 5-star teammate. Roccia is clearly the 5-star puzzle piece that Kuro is providing to complete the full Camellya picture, so if you're the Black Shores warrior's biggest simp and want to invest big into her, then consider pulling for a copy of Roccia. Or even consider pulling for multiple, as that's another really cool thing about this character. She acts as the high investment option for anybody that wants to push their crazy lady even further over the edge. Essentially, while 4-star teammates are absolutely superb and are 100% sufficient if you're looking to clear all of Wuthering Waves in-game content, they still have a hard cap if you're somebody that's looking to spend more astrites on a certain character compared to the average player, because while you can S6 them and get them a 5-star weapon, you're never gonna be able to access sequences on them that are equal to that of what a limited 5-stars S1 to 2 would be. So the main sequence that I'd like to highlight here is Roccia's S2. Plenty more Havoc damage bonus for your Camellya to enjoy. I don't want to brush over her S1 either because it greatly shortens down her field time, which helps push Roccia far above the rest of her competition when it comes to who would be the best Camellya teammate. So if you're somebody who dumped a crud ton of pulls on the Crazy Lady's initial banner, and are looking for the next best way to pour astrite-based investment into your teams, Roccia will be a perfect avenue to take. For the record, S0 is already perfectly sufficient, but considering that you can save up corals to pick up character copies, I'd say that evaluating early sequences is worthwhile, since they're more accessible than they'd usually be if you've been saving. Also, characters like Roccia, which are designed around one specific main DPS, are bound to attract people of higher interest and higher levels of investment in their favorite DPS, considering the more niche nature of them. I genuinely think that one of the best things about Roccia is the fact that she frees Up Sanhua. Jinshi's bodyguard is one of the most highly contested units in the game, working in plenty of high-profile teams. Her extremely quick concerto rotation lends her brilliantly to functioning with a variety of different characters. One such character will be none other than Camellya herself. And what do you know? Roccia is able to free Up Sanhua. That way, you can use her in all of your other tower teams instead. So this means that even if they're relatively comparable in performance, you still end up gaining a great deal of account value, as you're able to free up the excellent versatile option to work with other characters, while allowing the tailor-made support to function with her dedicated main DPS. This makes her a really efficient pull for Camellya mains that have a smaller character roster on the whole, as Sanhua is such a good general tool for any account to have. Definitely one of the biggest selling points when it comes to Roccia in my opinion. However, despite all of the excellent qualities that the Clown Kid brings to the table, she still has some negative aspects here which we absolutely must discuss. For example, when I talk about all of the amazing buffs that Roccia offers, along with her personal damage, she sounds like an absolutely perfect unit for Camellya, doesn't she? What could they possibly do in order to balance her out? Well, you know how one of Sanhua's biggest positive qualities is her borderline non-existent field time? You know how characters such as Johnson and Tauchi are bricked due to the fact that their field times are way too long relative to the value that they provide? Yeah, essentially it appears as if Roccia is gonna need quite the amount of field time to fully execute her abilities. This is how they're trying to balance her out. Yes, her S1 solves this issue. Once you get that, her field time will be drastically cut down and you'll be good to go. However, down at S0, you'll be facing this issue. The thing is, because what Roccia offers is so good, she's still a highly justifiable pull even in spite of this. But with that being said, it's 100% her biggest issue in terms of pull value. Dare I say that her field time is positively cooked. I'd also like to add how tough her competition is. She's a Camellya support, which is all fine and dandy, and she is indeed going to become her new best in slot support, even with her field time flaws considered. However, it's not going to be a case like Carlotta and Judge, where Vasily Painter is definitively her best in slot by an absolutely massive margin, with no contest whatsoever in the Glacio skill buffing department. She actually may end up being rather comparable to the likes of Sanhua when choosing who to play with your Camellya. While the Clown Kid might seem better on paper, in actual execution, the fact that Sanhua's Concerto rotation is so quick allows her to compete very closely, if not being potentially equal to Roccia in plenty of scenarios. And mind you, Jinshi's bodyguard doesn't have some measly lame old buffs in her kit. We're talking about a proper solid amount of basic percent here, along with some other buffs that she's capable of providing, such as attack percent and 5-piece Moonlight Clouds. And even though Sanhua is completely operational down at level 20, if you choose to build her up, she can contribute a fairly decent amount of damage to your team. So Sanhua is certainly no joke. She puts S0 Roscia's pull value in jeopardy. Now if you grant the Clown Kid her S1, she's better and it's no longer so comparable. But before then, you're gonna have to consider whether you really need the slight upgrade over Sanhua or not. If you need her freed up for other teams, fair enough. That retroactively boosts Roscia's pull value. If you have the Magistrate's bodyguard built up specifically to aid the Crazy Lady in battle, then things aren't gonna be as black and white. You're gonna want to take some time to think about your pulling plans. Getting somebody like Judge for Carlotta or Jinchi on your account will be far more influential than getting Roccia for your Camellya as an example, and that's precisely because Sanhua is able to compete so well. Feel free to comment your list of main DPSs, and I'll help organize which 5-star support you should prioritize pulling for relative to your own account. Because in total honesty, the Clown Kid is a high investment luxury pull more than anything else. But Juice, Sanhua's already in use on my account. In such a case, why not turn your gaze to Donjin? Her outro skills, Havoc damage amplification, makes her a formidable driver on Camellya teams. With that being said, Donjin is one of the most high skill ceiling characters in all of Wuthering Waves. You need to get good to play her well, which can be somewhat of a turn-off. Even so, the fact that she remains as a viable 4-star alternative to Sanhua remains. They made a niche premium support for one of the most free-to-play friendly DPSs in the entirety of Wuthering Waves. So, Roscia's competition is tough. She is an upgrade, yes, but down at S0R0, not by much. And there are plenty of other characters that you would rather get first before picking up a copy of the Clown Kid. The final main negative when it comes to Roccia is that I consider her to be somewhat of a niche character. Sure, she has basic percent buffing within her kit, but so does Sanhua, who is completely free, and attack buffing is something that plenty of other units are capable of providing to a team as well. So really, the only reason as to why you would get her is to support Camellya. I would like to add that this very well may change in the future. Now, before I talk about this more, I would like to emphasize, please do not pull for a character because they might end up being good in the future. Pull for them on their next banner after they've acquired good Astrite value, because if you get a character assuming that they'll become good one day, you'll end up being massively disappointed by the results if they don't end up getting buffed. With that warning out of the way, what I wanted to add is that she may end up getting a future DPS unit that's designed around her. I say this because this is something that Kuro appears to do on the regular. Judge released back at 1.1 as a premium Jinshi support, but her Glacio damage bonus couldn't be fully taken advantage of due to the fact that we had no Glacio DPSs before. I said we had no Glacio DPSs before. Anyways. However, we then eventually got Carlotta, who is perfectly paired up with the silly Painter in teams. Shoot, why do you think Kuro ran these two at the same time together? They're incredible synergistically. There's also Shangling Yao Yao, who is balanced around Yinlin, a character that released in 1.0. You get the idea. So there's a possibility that Camellya isn't the end of the road for Roccia. Keyword, possibility. Yet as it stands, her use cases are really niche. If you're not in massive need of a Sanhua in your other teams, she won't really be that much worse than Roccia and Crazy Lady comps. Your clear times will barely be any faster. Pretty much a premium pull designed for folks with plenty of Astrites to spend on vertically investing into their Camellya. She's certainly looking to be one of the more underwhelming 5-star releases in my opinion. With that being said, she has her purpose in the meta, and carries valid reasons as to why you would want her. There's no real immediate incentive to pick her up, even as a Camellya main. I do prefer when there are some sleeper units, as constant must pulls being thrown your way would be pretty annoying to keep up with meta-wise, but at least Roccia will still serve the audience that her kit is trying to capture well. Super duper skippable in my honest opinion, but far from some horrible garbage fest. Good at what she does, but not as insane as Judge is for her own respective niche as an example. But what do you think of Roccia? Will you be picking her up, or is it looking like a skip? Let me know down below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week every week on Saturdays starting from 3 PM UK time. Come along so that we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, Genshin, and do some other stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to tell you Roccia's biggest pros and cons. This has been Juice, signing out, and is it odd that her ghost thing kinda gives me Mimikyu vibes? They are absolutely not similar at all, but I get the same energy when I look at the both of them. Does that make any sense?